Good morning, everybody. How we doing today, Bob?
Doing good, man.
And we got
It's
kind of a late
it's
start today,
it
didn't we?
yeah, it's Monday. It's such a Monday that it's still morning at 1:46. So
Yeah, I know. I was kind of behind the ball today too, And then last week we got a little bit busy and didn't get a couple of these shows out. I don't know if I told you, but we had one show that the audio was bad and I didn't get to put it up.
oh
Uh,
man, so these guys miss us.
yeah, they do. They miss us big time, man,
Dude.
because we haven't been out here. So maybe we'll bring them some good information today.
All right, well for all the ones that haven't seen us in a long time, that's Billy.
Yep.
I'm Bob. We
Yep.
like to do this show to bring a little bit of relevant information to the markets, kind of a little bit of insight, what we think, how we think, what we do, and why we do what we do, and how we get to the conclusions that we come to while we're doing what we're doing. So,
We like to put some information out there for you guys that are dispatching your own trucks or thinking about buying your own truck or running your own truck. A lot of the information that we use, we give to you guys on here for free. So if you don't feel like paying us the $295 a week to run your truck, watch our show. You're going to get a lot of the same information. But like I tell everybody, if I can make you more than $295 a week, my service is essentially free, and that's a true
well,
statement. So prove me
he
wrong.
means if I can make you $295 more a week, then your
That
service is free.
that's right. If my dispatchers can do that, because I don't think they're getting up with you, Bob. How many trucks you running nowadays? We just went over your numbers, and I think
I'm running. I got a couple guys who are down right now, but I think I got 9 trucks rolling right now with like 7 different authorities or something like that.
yeah.
So,
So you're pretty busy. You don't really have room on your roster, but if something opens up
no.
and you guys sign on and you put in the request, I'll get you over to Bob. He's actually one of our top dispatchers. But all of our dispatchers are good. And another thing about Forky's Logistics, not to kind of talk too much and plug our business, but all of our dispatchers are former truck drivers or fleet owners or both. We don't believe a good dispatcher or a dispatcher can be a good dispatcher without kind of experience. So that's what we're looking for in our dispatchers when we are hiring is somebody with the driving experience, behind the wheel experience. That way they can kind of relate to you guys when you're out there running and gunning. But let's look at some numbers, Bob. Should we start the weather? It looks like Henri over there on the East Coast has kind of dissipated and turned into a
Henri,
tropical depression. And
is he French or just annoying?
I don't know whether if I were to say it, I'd say Henry, but they spelled it a little bit differently, and everybody's been saying Henri. So I want to just kind of you
Follow
know,
suit.
go with that. I don't want to be the only guy calling it Henry, but it looks like Henry on paper. But anyway, it kind of ran up the East Coast. It missed Long Island by a little bit. I think it got the eastern or the western portion of the island, and then kind of just ran up into the state there. So in New York, it wasn't too bad. So if you're up there in the Northeast, you're dealing a little bit with the tropical depression Henri now, but we've moved past that. So let's look at some numbers, guys. Typically when we're out for a few days, I like to kind of go longer stretches, and today's no different. I opened up a weekly change chart where we're talking about the change week over week. So with what I'm seeing here, if the red and the blue indicate the outbound tender rejection index, then we're looking at the tender rejects, and it looks like they're picking up in a few spots. And these are the reefer hot spots, which is going to be potatoes, and onions up here in Idaho, starting to come off, kind of bleeding over here into the Green River market. We look at this, Robert. Remember last week we talked about New Mexico, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I said give it a week, and we're gonna start seeing some color in here. And guess what, guys? It's starting to pick up here too. And you know what that
Well,
is? That's
just
pumpkins.
yeah, or and onions. I
Yeah.
actually work. There's a contact. I used to have a carrier that worked out of Amarillo. We worked with the brokerage firm Lusk Onions. I mean, not a shameless plug, but we'll give it away. I
Yeah.
mean, they haul. If you're in the area, they haul pumpkins and onions all
Yeah.
throughout. So,
Yeah. So those are the areas picking up. So we're seeing a lot of produce. And in fact, I was reading an article. I don't know what I do with that article. That's not it. You guys don't want to look into that. Where'd all my articles go? I think I got them right here. Okay, so I was reading an article and uh, it was talking about reefer equipment being needed and starting to pick up, and we've had a overall change. So the reefer outbound tender volume reject rates across the board have increased almost 1.5 percentage points over the last 7 days. So capacity is tightening for reefer equipment. And then yeah, the biggest impacted markets are Greenboro, Raleigh, Roanoke, Indianapolis, and Twin Falls.
Good. I got a truck in
So
Greensboro on Wednesday.
yeah,
Reefer
so
unit.
if you got
Here's what
to
I just did with them to get them to Greensboro too, because this is true. They're paying good money to places that need these trucks also. Like I just got a load from St. Louis straight over to Greensboro area. We made $4 a mile on the trip,
wow,
and looking at $3 a mile coming back out, going crossing back over to St. Louis. So it's a hell of a run. I mean,
I
you
don't
really can't.
I don't know if we've talked about average spot market rate per mile on this show yet, but what are you seeing out there, Robert? If you had to say like a national average spot per mile rate for just an average truck, we'll just use a dry van. Don't go reefers are kind of all over the board, but dry van. I like those numbers. They're more consistent, more steady
I'm
throughout
a
the year.
dry van guy as well. You know, reefer is harder to break everything down. You got reefer insurance, you got reefer fuel, -10, -40. It changes, everything changes. So your dollar per mile cost, it fluctuates a little bit more. Now, dry van, it's pretty realistic. It is any guy can grab a dry van and get running. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I would say it depends on where you're at, but I mean, like I have my folks out of Louisiana. These guys are averaging 275 to $3 for the most part, running from Louisiana all the way up into the Midwest. Ohio, PA, that kind of stuff. Now, if you're running North Carolina to Ohio, Western PA, Indiana, you can see $4 on some loads, $4.50 depending on the day of the week. And then in the opposite direction, you're looking more like $3. It
yeah.
just depends on where you're at and what you're doing. But I mean,
But
I
would
would
you
say
would
nationally, I'd say things are probably about 275 if I had to say like a good national average. Because you
I
got to
think you're not
remember
far off.
if you're anything coming west is going to be less than $2 for the most part. But hell, I might even be wrong there. I've been seeing freight coming west for over $2 a mile too.
Yeah,
There's capacity shortages everywhere right now, man. The rates are good. I mean, 275 to $3.
yeah.
That's
I
that.
I would agree. I would say that $3 a mile is kind of the average we've been seeing on my side when we run the numbers.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's still markets where you're going to pull under that, but if you guys are out there and you're not averaging $3 a mile, then you're not doing it right. So give us a call. Check us out.
See,
4keyslogistics.com.
that's the thing too. I like to be conservative. Whenever I say things, I'm not the kind of guy who likes to tell you $3.50 and then come up with $2.50.
No, I'm
So
not
when I
either.
say
You know.
275, I'm conservative on that. I want to make sure that I'm not wrong.
Yeah, no,
So
I'm the same way. I'd rather under promise and over deliver all day long.
that's my
Um,
motto.
and that's kind of what we strive to do. So let's pull some more data off this map here before I change it. So we're looking at the areas where it picked up. Let's look at the areas kind of where it decreased. And, we talked about Texas and Dallas and that whole market. It looks like the whole state itself is now red. Everybody kind of made their way over there. And this happens, guys, is that word gets out, truckers talk that, hey man, I just pulled $5 a mile out of Dallas. Get your truck over here to Dallas. Everybody kind of migrates into the Dallas market, but by the time they get there, it's too late, right? The trucks have already loaded up with their $5 mile loads and they headed out. And where are they going to land next? And I can tell you where they're going to land next, and that's going to be up there in the Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, PA market. That's really the
Yeah.
only market that's picking up in tender reject. So everybody kind of migrated out of the upper Midwest and the lower Northeast and down into Dallas. Typically, when you run that side, that's not a bad lane to run anyway. But you want to be on the flip side of it. You don't want to be the guy that just landed in Dallas today looking for a killer load because well, you're probably not going to find one, and that may be a true statement. That may not. Um, this map doesn't take into effect or take into account the volume in the market. I have one that does, so let me bring that one up.
Well,
And
I
you,
don't think you're very wrong there. I mean, everybody goes where the money's at, and some folks have been into this industry long enough to know that there's seasons everywhere. You know what I mean? This kind of stuff fruit comes off, produce comes off this time of year, so you end up with a lot more reefer units going and chasing produce season and not looking for dry van freight for backhauls,
Yeah.
and that's what's going to affect stuff like that. I mean, but Dallas, yeah, I've seen Dallas be turned down for the last few days.
Yeah, and
So
I think it's probably gonna stay that way for another week or so until capacity bleeds back out.
yeah,
That's the name of the game, guys. Whether it's the stock market or it's the trucking market or it's any market, it's supply and demand that drive the prices and the rates 100%. And the trucking market's no different. You can get on the stock market and check out trucking futures and kind of see what's happening there. People are pretty much gambling on the price of what you're getting paid to move freight. So whether they're prepaying for freight or whatever they're doing, there's a whole market where people speculate um, because it is a market, and a lot of you guys don't understand because you're just driving the truck. You don't really understand. The big driver behind the market and the rates are just supply and demand and volumes and capacity and where it's at and when it's happening and all that good stuff. I know the number of ships waiting to unload in the port of LA has increased, and somewhere I read there was like 100 ships out there. I'll have to find that data.
that's
I don't
huge.
want to spread fake
That's
news,
great.
but it was a lot. Um,
Well, that's why you see such a boom on the in the Ontario market. They either drayage or containers loads out. They third party warehouse it, or they have their own private warehousing. We've seen that a lot with the company that we worked with. They would ship all these things in containers, move it to a warehouse, split the orders up, create orders, and distribute them to Best Buys all over the country.
yeah,
You know,
that's how it
we had
works.
our hand in that, and that's literally how it works. So if you're in a port city, just expect to see a really busy season. And with Christmas stuff picking up and consumerism at its all-time high, it might not be a bad first quarter.
We did this last week. Let's do it again. So here's your seaports. Okay, this is where the freight comes in and goes out, guys, across the country. And you can kind of see what happens to the volume around these areas. Anywhere you see the height on the chart, that's pretty much telling you there's volume. And there's a lot of volume in these markets with seaports.
And
And
weren't you talking about Harrisburg with the trains also?
right up here, yeah. So up here in the New Jersey market, or in these ports right in here, I'm not sure which one it was. Where they were talking about one of these ports up here in Jersey. Just the max influx of rail freight has driven the intermodal prices up. So a lot of that freight that's usually shipped intermodally is gonna just go straight to the truck. So that's why we've seen the elevated volumes over the last couple of weeks. And I think we'll continue seeing them as long as consumerism is on the rise like it is. Market's healthy. I know 2 weeks ago markets kind of shook up a little bit, but man, they just keep roaring back. So people are out there and they have money and they want to spend it. And when they spend their money, things have to be shipped, and that's where we come in. Is you
Yeah.
know we uh,
Well,
we
we might, with
we
the
ship
second
things.
wave of coronavirus too, not to buy into the whole thing. We try not to bring politics and that kind of stuff in, but it's a reality. We are in the pandemic. With the second cry of the rise of the virus again, we're going to see a lot more toilet paper, paper towels, waters, that kind of stuff moving even harder, just like
You
we did.
We may hit another panic sell, or panic buying spree or shopping spree, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it'll get that bad or not. We'll see. I think people are kind of come to the idea of living with this thing. So I know I have personally.
Well,
Um,
I guess it's maybe just because I'm from California.
yeah,
But
maybe. Well, even here in Idaho, I mean, it's such a polarized topic. We probably shouldn't get into it, but the pandemic does cause people to go out and spend money. So
my point
maybe we'll see
is
that.
I went to the grocery store the other day and they were out of water again.
Were they?
So
Yeah.
with the increase of fires, you're having water relief for firefighters via water. They're sending out extra loads for that kind of stuff. They're also shipping out extra loads for, people panic buying and those kind of things. You're going to see a little bit more of that. That's what's keeping these markets up too, is
Yeah.
because people just can't catch up on the supply chain. So
I think so too. It's like we're still trying to recover from the first round. That's how broken our logistical system is here. Like there's so many players and so many modes, and none of them kind of communicate. And the fact that somebody can order a truck to move their freight and then pay them 60 days later is just that blows my mind, man. I don't. The guy that's doing all the work and putting out all the expenses has to wait to get paid to move his freight. and these factoring companies are just raking in the dough because they're buying your receivable. That shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't. I have a solution to that problem I'm working on, and it might be a year or two before we get this thing implemented. But yeah, there's a big disconnect in our market. But anyway,
Huge.
I don't want to run this on. We kind of been chit chatting a little bit. Let's see. We gave you guys some value here. Harrisburg. This is why I want to show you this. This market has picked up on Tinder rejects, big time. That's this one in Grand Rapids. Both of these are in that area I talked about. That intermodal freight kind of coming into play here. I think we're seeing that now. And then we had a decrease in Jacksonville market. That was bound to happen. This area is usually not the best. But for whatever reason, 2 weeks ago,
We've been
it was
seeing about. It seems like when Dallas is hot, that would be cold, and then the vice versa. But they're cooling off both of them right now.
a lot of guys will just run regionally down here in the South, and I think that's what we're seeing with that.
Hmm.
Over here in California, obviously produce season is coming into play. Everything's kind of being harvested and coming off, and we're getting in the fall here. So, yeah, reefers are going to be in high demand as we move forward here. So maybe tomorrow we'll bring up some reefer charts. Didn't do it today, and I really don't want to load that up. Let's look at the capacity trend, see if that's kind of telling us the same thing. Basically, um, same story here. Is we're seeing the capacity trend kind of pick up here, where the capacity is picking up in the market is the same areas where we're kind of seeing the rejections fall. See how that works? Where you get more trucks in the market and then you get less rejections, that drives your price down. See that? Can you
And
can
that's
you
why we always try to remind you folks: bid high,
yeah,
don't keep cheap freight.
always start high. But even right here, I mean, look right here, the Harrisburg market, it lost 3 points on this chart. But look over here, it's picking up here, and it's
Hmm.
also it's also picking up here. So this would be kind of the opposite thing that we're seeing here. If capacity is leaving a market, like over here, and it's flooding into these other markets, the rates will be suppressed here and they'll kind of rise over here, kind of pick that up. So it's just a bidding war for a truck when the capacity is not in the market. So rates could be good. Critical events, I'm not seeing much here. We talked about Henri, Henry, whatever you want to call it. Just kind of a tropical storm depression here. Let's see what we're affecting. 12 assets, probably airports. So we probably have some airports over there being affected. Some fires over here. My wife was in Reno this weekend, and they have, or not Reno, but Tahoe, and they have a big old fire going on right over here. It's probably
Yeah,
this
man.
Caldor fire, 104,000 acres, man. It's a pretty big one. Another one here, the Tamarack fire, 67,000 acres.
Well, me being from Fresno, California for the last 2 days, well, actually 3 or 4 days, I think I've mentioned like looking outside and it's been gloomy. I don't know if we've caught it on here on Truckin' with Bob, but over the weekend, we were just getting snowed with ash from that fire. It's really bad. It's really,
Crazy.
really bad.
It's
Yeah.
all these red spots are fires running throughout this state here, and this state's always on fire. I lived here for my whole life, damn near, and every year it was on fire. Every year, and you could see them all up here in the west. We have fires here in Idaho too. We're sitting here, but yeah, there's fires right up here everywhere. So if you're out here on the west, I'm not sure. I know this Caldor fire here was affecting this route here on the 50. So I believe they actually have it closed, or they did over the weekend. So if you're out here on the 50, don't do it, guys. Find an alternative route because that's not gonna be good for you. Same thing over here. Looks like this Tamarack fire is affecting the 395. So if you're up here in this area in California, Tahoe area, air quality is really bad, and some roads may be closed. So watch out for that. Down here, excessive heat warnings in Phoenix, of course. That's uh, that's just kind of the nature of Phoenix. So um, I have something I want to talk to you about, and this kind of goes with our sentiment here at Forky Logistics is that the truckers, we need to stick together because we will be taken advantage of if we let them do it. Over here in Australia, they've decided they're going to get together and they're going to protest the lockdowns in Australia by blocking the freeways into all the states.
Wow.
So we'll see if they actually if they actually kick that off or not. It's supposed to
That's
happen.
interesting.
Supposed to happen next week, and it's happening. They got a GoFundMe page. They only have $3,000 as of this article, but they may have more now. But August 31st, they're going to block every highway in the state, and they're
Hold
just
on, scroll up a little bit. They were warning civilians to what?
to stock up on supplies because there may be
Oh,
a supply
they're
chain
planning on shutting
disruption.
down the supply chain.
Yeah,
Hey,
well,
they say if all truck drivers quit driving for a day,
yeah,
you'll notice it very quickly.
you will, and in fact, that may there's not much we can do as little people separately, but when we all band together, we may be able to make a difference. So depending on what our government decides to do, I think the people over here, depending on what state you're in, we've kind of decided how we want to handle it state by state, which is the way it should be. Everybody should get to handle it themselves, and I have nothing against masks or vaccines or any of that. If that's what needs to happen, then that's what needs to happen. People need to do what they need to do to protect themselves and their families, and what may be good for some may not be good for others, and I think everybody should have the right to make that decision. And lastly, driver recruitment wars. We've been
Hold up, I gotta go, Billy. I'm
Yeah,
going to get
you gonna go apply
this
for
today.
Cowan? Yeah, see you, man. I don't blame you. It's been
Holy
fun.
shit, guys!
Uh,
You guys are lucky I'm a good dispatcher. If you boys out here watching my show, you better remember I could be out there on the road with you again real quick.
don't say I didn't bring you guys any value on this show. $20,000 if you just want to go drive for Cowan. So get out there, go apply. It looks like 50% of that will be paid in the first 6 months. So if you want 10 grand to be paid to you in the next 6 months, all you gotta do is go drive for Cowan, guys. Come on now. They're looking for drivers, and this is
But
everybody's
ain't that the
story.
story everywhere? It seems like to be a common topic in our conversations, man. Driver shortages, drivers and equipment. Like, where are they at?
Everywhere, man, everywhere. So, yeah, it's tough out there right now hiring drivers because there's a lot of choices. There's a high demand for drivers. There's not a lot of people jumping into that profession, and it's just not sexy. People who become drivers, you don't. Society doesn't look at you great, even though you play one of the most
Not
important roles.
sexy. Have you
You
guys
don't get.
seen that intro picture? Come
Yeah.
on now.
Well, we're not talking about you, Bob. We're not talking
Oh,
about
okay,
you. We
okay, all
we
right,
we know what you bringing, but
all right. Don't forget it.
well, I
Uh,
think we'll leave on that note, Mister Sexy. I we're 22 minutes in, so this is kind of one of our
well,
longer shows, but we've been on a little
we miss you
hiatus here.
guys.
So yeah, we miss you guys. We figured we'd spend some time. Tomorrow, I'm gonna bring some reefer data. It looks like we're kind of jumping into reefer season, and reefer numbers are picking up a little on us. So let's get ahead of them and throw some good information out there to all of our reefer drivers. So, and always check us out, 4keyslogistics.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like what we're doing. Hit that like button, whatever it takes to get us some more subscriptions. I know we're getting them slowly but surely. It's just gonna be kind of a slow roll, but I think if it catches on and people kind of see the value that we're giving to them for free, they'll jump in. So if you want us to keep bringing this value, if you're watching the show and you like this and it's helping
I
you,
hate to break to you folks, we're on here, and whether you want us to be or not, we ain't going nowhere. So,
or you can just listen to Bob down there. He's feeling good today, so we'll see how this
all right,
plays out.
folks, like,
uh,
subscribe, catch us next time.
all right, guys. See you
All
tomorrow.
right, man.